Lately, I've been thinking a lot about life, love, and the path that we're all told to take. And today, I want to dive into something we don't talk about enough. Buckle up, because I'm exploring the reasons not to get married. Yeah, I know it sounds a little controversial, and that's kind of the point. Before we get too deep, let me just say this isn't anti-love or anti-relationship. This is just a thought experiment, a way to reflect on the pressures we face and the choices we actually have. So, let's take a look at marriage, why it's been such a big deal for so long, and whether it still needs to be. Let's start with the basics. Why do we even feel the need to get married in the first place? In almost every society, we're raised to see marriage as a big life milestone. And a lot of that pressure comes from a blend of history, culture, and even religion. Historically, marriage wasn't about love, it was about survival. It was a social contract, a way to join families, secure property, and even keep peace between communities. As historian Stephanie Kuntz says, marriage was seen not as a relationship about love, but about joining two families and ensuring economic security. In short, marriage has traditionally been more about duty than romance. Now, in most cultures today, there's this expectation that being single means you're somehow incomplete. Think about it, how often do people ask, "Where are you settling down?" It's like there's this idea that to truly be an adult, you need to be married. Single life can sometimes be seen as this temporary phase, something you're supposed to grow out of. And if you don't follow that path, you might feel judged, or like there's something wrong with you. And then, there's religion. Many of the world's religions, from Christianity to Islam to Hinduism, emphasize marriage as almost a sacred duty. In some interpretations, marriage is considered the only correct way to live a virtuous life. The idea of marriage as a religious sacrament has been passed down for centuries. In some religious texts, it's seen as a way to create family values, moral grounding, and stability in society. But here's the thing, life today is vastly different from what it was when these ideas were formed. So, is it possible that marriage, as a tradition, may not be the only path to fulfillment in the modern world? Alright, so now that we know where the pressures come from, let's dig into the reasons why someone might choose not to get married. Some of these might resonate with you, and some might surprise you. Let's go! Reason 1, loss of personal freedom. First off, marriage often comes with an unspoken expectation to compromise your career, your hobbies, your life goals. This can feel like a loss of autonomy. Think about how society portrays marriage. You buy a house, settle down, and suddenly, everything revolves around the unit. You wanted to move abroad for a career opportunity? Well, now you have to check if your spouse is okay with it. You wanted to pick up a new hobby that takes up your weekends? Better make sure it doesn't interfere with couple time. This loss of freedom can make people feel like they're living someone else's version of their life. Philosopher Simone de Beauvoir even wrote that marriage is traditionally the destiny offered to women by society. It allows them few other roles than that of wife and mother. And also, the writer and philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once criticized marriage as an institution of ownership, something he believed was more restrictive than liberating. Reason 2, financial strain. Let's not sugarcoat it, marriage is expensive. From the wedding to the legal processes, to the eventual merging of finances, the costs can add up. Take weddings as an example. The wedding industry thrives on making people feel like they need a perfect day with the perfect dress, venue, and 300-person guest list. But does spending tens of thousands of dollars for one day of celebration really make sense? And it doesn't stop there. What happens if one partner earns significantly more than the other? Financial imbalances can create power dynamics in the relationship, leading to tension and resentment. In fact, financial disagreements are one of the leading causes of divorce. Wouldn't it be smarter to invest that money in something lasting, like starting a business, traveling the world, or simply securing your financial independence? Reason 3, high divorce rates and emotional toll. This one's a bit grim, but it's reality. Roughly half of all marriages end in divorce. That statistic alone should make anyone pause and think. And while divorce might be common, it's never easy. Divorce isn't just the end of a relationship, it's the dismantling of a life you built together. It's lawyers, custody battles, splitting assets, and emotional scars that can last years. And let's not forget the social stigma around divorce. Even though it's more accepted now than in the past, there's still this lingering judgment, as if a failed marriage is a personal failure. Is it worth the risk of going through all of that? Reason 4, marriage can foster dependency. Marriage is often seen as a partnership, but it can sometimes lead to unhealthy dependency. You might start relying on your spouse for emotional support, financial stability, or even your sense of identity. When one partner becomes the other's entire world, what happens if that world crumbles? What happens to your sense of self if your partner is no longer there? This is why many psychologists stress the importance of maintaining individuality in relationships. But marriage, by design, often pushes people towards shared goals and away from personal growth. And while interdependence can be healthy, it's a thin line to walk. Reason 5, compatibility can be fleeting. Here's a hard truth, people change. The person you marry at 25 might not be the same person you're living with at 35 or 55. In modern marriage, we are asking one person to give us what an entire village used to provide: love, support, stability, passion, and more. But can one person realistically meet all those needs for a lifetime? Marriage assumes long-term compatibility, but humans are dynamic. We grow, evolve, and sometimes outgrow the relationships we're in. And that is the reality. Reason 6, legal and social ramifications. Marriage is more than just a piece of paper, it's a legal contract. And with that contract come obligations. For example, in many countries, marriage affects how you file taxes, who inherits your assets, and even who makes medical decisions for you if you're incapacitated. Consider this: do you really need a legal agreement to validate your love? Or is it just a leftover from a time when marriage was necessary to secure property and inheritance rights? For some people, the idea of involving the government in their personal relationships feels intrusive. Long-term partnerships, on the other hand, offer similar emotional benefits without the legal baggage. Reason 7, happiness isn't guaranteed by marriage. Here's something surprising: studies show that marriage doesn't necessarily make people happier. Sure, there's a honeymoon phase where happiness spikes, but researchers have found that this often fades within a few years. Daniel Gilbert's claims that people overestimate how much marriage will make them happy. The reality is, happiness comes from within, not from external milestones. If happiness isn't guaranteed by marriage, why is it so often sold as the ultimate goal? Reason 8, the institution is outdated. Marriage, as we know it, was designed for a completely different era. Its original purpose, to secure alliances, manage property, and produce heirs, isn't relevant for most people today. If marriage is a relic of the past, why are we still holding on to it? Why not create new models of commitment that fit modern needs? Some people are already doing this, opting for cohabitation, open relationships, or even platonic partnerships. These alternatives reflect the diversity of human relationships in a way that traditional marriage often can't. Reason 9, focus on personal growth. Marriage takes time and energy that could be spent on personal development. Imagine what you could achieve if you didn't have to factor someone else's needs into every major decision. Maybe the greatest love story is the one you have with yourself. Investing in your own growth can lead to a life full of meaning and fulfillment. Reason 10, flexibility in relationships is more important. Finally, marriage often comes with a set of rigid rules and expectations. But relationships today thrive on flexibility. Couples are redefining commitment in ways that work for them, whether it's living apart together or simply keeping things casual. When we stop trying to fit relationships into a box, we open the door to more authentic connections. So, we've looked at the history, the pressures, and some reasons not to get married. And if you're asking my personal opinion, well, here it is. None, honestly. Marriage or not, just have some fun the way you love it, because it won't be long before we all vanish forever anyway. But that's just my take. What do you think? Is marriage still relevant in today's world, or do we need to redefine what love and commitment mean? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's keep this conversation going, because this is one topic we should all be talking about.